So hi everyone, today in this video I'm gonna develop another mental model obviously with the function of helping you taking best decisions, since if you take best decisions you as well so get proportionally more well paid, or whatever is the field that you want to get. So prosperity, you're also always gonna kind of rely in having a good ability to be a decision maker. So I already expect you to help me, since I'm gonna help you by doing whole this series talking about so mental models, information, knowledge that I take from the reality, and then so you can apply in your life to get so best results. So I already expect you to help me by subscribing in the channel and afterwards seeing other videos. And then so today what we're gonna talk a specific mental model that is more taken is more in the history, and how we can call it the Horseshoe Theory. So when extremes start to look the same. So we kind of see, and this obviously applies more in politics and politicians, that obviously the all type of people that are involved in that area. What do you have a tendency to see is that we tend to say that the peoples are in these extremes, like the far right, the far left. We tend to look them as like the biggest type of contrast that exists so between the ideologies that the human being can have. But what in reality sometimes can happen is that by being so extreme, sometimes their touches, they kind of make a curve and start so getting a bit near of both so to each other, and then so they start having, and if you look it right, you start looking for patterns that seem to be kind of the same, but just applied probably by in the different perspectives, but the theory is the same. It's like the approach is being the same. What can be the difference is probably so what can be the end goal that they try to achieve. But the way that they apply the methodology seems to be kind of characterized in the same way. And then so it's basically is the horseshoe effect is basically talks about it. Instead of extremes being the opposite hands, they start to curve back towards each other in behavior, in tactics, and nothing so that same two type of things. And then so what could be the best examples to make and be obviously illustrative to you, and that's so important to note when you do analyze so these political perspectives as like the best area that you can analyze it. So we have authoritarianism in both sides. So we can look for far left and far right movements. What kind of both push? They kind of both push for strong centralized control, even if their goals differ. So as I say, far left, what is, you notice the far right tends to be characterized. So the progressivism. So we are always to progress to be happening, as like it was, as like we have like authoritarianism that is not just like is like the opposite of the authoritarianism of always following what was true, what was something that happened in the past, that people must so look for conservatism when they look for right. But for life is the opposite. Is like is authoritarianism that people always have to accept new type of ideologies that happens, and so they kind of make it put like as a law that everyone has to respect. While in the opposite hand, more with the perspective of conservating what we think is has to be so something that has to remain existing and behaving in the same way, we have the authoritarianism of not accepting whatever new tends to happen. Is the totally other extreme. Both have different goals, while other ones have like the ideology of having progressive, of having so and so things that are adopted as true. Other one is the opposite. He wants to things that remain equal as the past, and accepting that what is the past has to remain doing in the future, and not having tolerance for what is new. But the goal is different. But if you see it in reality, the methodology of where and how they apply so even differing the goal is the same. Is by authoritarianism, is by don't having tolerance between what so not matches their end goal. And then so it's one of the best things is the authoritarianism that happens in both sides. We have censorship. radical groups often suppress dissenting views. It comes so a bit with authoritarianism, so not accepting different things from the ones that I'm promoting. Because, yes, the characterization of fair is like so pushing towards the extremes, is not so having tolerance. That's why so people not like to be called as in the political ideologies as extreme right or extreme left, because extreme, it kind of has so a level of being something negative, and so people doesn't like it. And then so it's something that obviously people don't like it because extremes are bad. We're not made to always be accepting new things. We are not made to always have to deal with new things and certainly always trying to progress. Neither always that's new, it's good. It's the reality. As, obviously, the completely other opposite, always wanting and tending to not so accept things that come as new or fearing too much resistance. Sometimes so as well, not something that's positive doesn't stimulate the innovation, and sometimes some type of things that are good but are not so initially good are things so that they require time, like they require a U curve, then the utility just comes after some period of adopting. And then so is tolerance again that could be deterministic to so a quality of a specific type of pollutions that so can be adopted, that ideology so can bring as good for the reality as the past, so the progressivism. So seeing that in the long term, just because something that is new is seeming good in the present, probably in the long term by being something that structure is gonna structure. So if we remain being ideology that the people want to accept and want to adopt, will so become something that we don't like it. The way that structures some ideologies and then so whole generations adopting the same. That's something that cannot be positive. So we have censorship, authoritarianism as well being something that's is common, rejection of the center, that's sometimes where people should get position, that's where so it's always the being moderate that's the best way to adopt. It's not moderate doesn't mean doesn't doing nothing, but moderation is something that is how our human brain, the way that it works, is something that match more the way we are. So we're having things innovation at certain rate, not too much, but as well remaining the basis that what we know as well being and remaining the same during so the majority of our life. So having balance, and then so the extremes they tend to reject what in my view is the best way to kind of behave, that is so having a position towards more the center, not being something that's extreme in the both sides, just adopting the measures of the right or measures of the left. Someone in the center adopt both ways, since the result is clear. Everyone saw, and what's the objective of politics? Understand, politics is to make the lives people better, and then so if you kind of adopt and you kind of characterize as someone that just adopts things and parts of you of the left or the right, you're gonna be someone that's not gonna have so flexibility to go and so take away things that are both good, are good so in both sides. But just because you kind of characterize as one area, you can adopt the other. So obviously flexibility is something that we do like. Us versus dim thinking, another type of common thing between extreme positions that they tend to be characterized as extremes are like different, when in reality they're more close between them than in comparison the positions of the far in comparison with the center. So far right is more like closer to the far left than in reality is for example with the center. And then so real world examples is kind of people understand that the far left communism and the far right fascism historically both have created totalitarian regimes despite opposing rhetoric. Cancel culture and censorship, extreme groups on both sides call for the deplatforming opponents instead of open debate. Economic policies, some radical left and right groups advocate for protectionism, heavy state control, and illusionism. Social and cultural movements, diet and lifestyle extremes. Where there is extreme carnivore only or fruitarian only diets, both reject balance. you see this happen not just in politics, it's something that happens so as well in diets, in techno-optimists and anti-tech groups. Both extremes see technology as either salvation or total destruction, which so is so another type of common thing. Conspiracy thinking, radical movements, regardless of ideology, often share what? Paranoia about elites, media, institutions. So, business and work culture, we have the hostile culture versus anti-work movements. One extreme pushes 24/7, the other one pushes their ambitions. What both reject, so what they have in common, reject sustainable work-life balance. Corporate capitalism versus extreme collectivism. Both can lead to bureaucratic control, lack of personal freedom, and inefficiency. So now, we should try to how we should use it in a way that or you can apply in your favor or try to take away from your life. So avoiding black and white thinking is the best way that you can do to reject suffer. So with this being so, the world is complex, except that you cannot just have to stick in one of these. Some type of periods in the history where we show that some measures from some specific side were the best ones to be made, while environment changes, what you're working towards output, and output is not just created by specific methodology. So if in one specific areas some measure from the left is better, do it. If some for some areas some measures for more towards the right, do it. Avoid black and white thinking. Avoid black and white thinking. Avoid being just close attached with one of the specific sites, because takes you flexibility, takes you abilities, hypotheses that you can test, because you already cut the potential of being adopted, since you already have identified and you have so this commitment base that people tend to suffer, mainly the politicians ones that have so declared as present and so being like being like the representation of a specific right side or the specific of component of the left side. So takes you flexibility if you think in black and white thinking, and then so you should not adopt. So recognize extremes early. Obviously, if two opposite ideas start looking eerily similar, ask yourself, so am I falling in the horseshoe trap? So that's another thing that you have to get in count. So bridging debates, if you understand that opposite extremes often share underlying motivations, you can find common ground, and productive discussions is so another way to solve it. This kind of tendency that extremes so have to behave toward each other. So extremes may seem radically different, but they often mirror each other in rigidity, intolerance, and tactics. What is the best approach? Seek nuance, adaptability, and critical thinking, because the truth rarely sits at extremes, and then so you avoid being hand ruling in a world that you neither know if you're. It's like not working with neither the Haiti neither Haiti. Like we don't need these extremes. The extremes, they don't rule the world. They don't rule sustainable type of future. Is what so I want you to take away from this video. So I expect this video has helped you, and I expect so you as well to help me by subscribing and afterwards seeing other videos. So see you in the next one.